Right. Everyone can hear me? All right, great. This is probably going to be the only non-technical presentation of this entire 3-day period, so hope you enjoy it. So it was 2004, a beautiful summer morning, 6:30 a.m., and my alarm went off. And I crawled out from my desk, from under my desk. It was the 38th floor of Goldman Sachs building in downtown New York. It was the third day I have been sleeping under my desk, and I've spent 100 hours the last week, and seems like this is going to be 80 plus hours too. So this was not the biggest tragedy. The tragedy was that it has become the norm, and I haven't even realized how much I have lost my soul in my life. So, past that point, I realized something had to change, but I had no clue what could. I come from India. I grew up in a third world country. India has, if you guys didn't know, has over a quarter of the world's hungriest people. And here I was, under 25, making over $250,000. And pretty big deal for a kid from nowhere. I'm not saying this for bragging or anything, but the whole point was my life was entirely out of balance. I had gone too far in chasing just one dream. I was hungry. I was money hungry right from the beginning when I was born, when I was little. And finally I had everything that I thought I wanted. I look back, all I could see was, I woke up that morning and I said, Sabri, are you still hungry? I had everything that I thought I wanted, I had a lot of money, but had no time. Time to spend the money that I made. Time to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Time to meet with my friends, with my family, with having normal things in life, normal pleasures simple pleasures of life. It was, the pathetic point was that I had a lot of dreams as a kid, and I thought that money would solve all the problem. That's why I went full steam headed towards it. Seems like my dream has just been duped. It was painful. It was repeated days of painful. Anyone who've been to, do you guys know about Death March? Death March is the book, Death March. Death March is a concept. It was talked about right post the .com era, of the first time ever anyone talked about programmer burnout. And I was headed straight towards it. Death March is literally a project that you know that it's not going to complete, but they are throwing money at it, and you know that you can't do anything about it. You keep still walking towards it. Every morning you go straight to the work and sit down and code, knowing that nothing's going to happen. I don't know if anyone has been in a situation like that in any project. My life was becoming a death march. Something had to change. I had no idea what. So, putting a lot of things in perspective, I was not able to even take days of vacation. My days of vacation were 2 weeks in the entire year, but I never took any vacation because I didn't want to lose the spot on my ladder, you know. So as things start getting worse, I finally made time to go meet my family. And I met my friend from when I was in 5th grade, I believe. And his name is Ramesh, and we had taken different paths in life. Ramesh was now working for a clothing store in somewhere rural India, happily married, 2 kids. Both of us were same age. When I was asking him, random chat, and he said he was making $400 a month. What was surprising was I spent $800 the night before I left New York, along with my friends on a night out. But here, he was having everything he wanted in life. And I had everything that I thought I wanted, and I didn't have it. He was a free man, and I was in chains. Well, golden chains, but still chains. Ten years has passed, and today I work about 4 hours to 8 hours every week, and I have done about 90% of my bucket list of things that I wanted to always do as a kid, and I travel a lot. I live in a new city every 2 months. All the dreams that I had as a kid, I go ahead and do it. There are things that I wanted to learn as a child, say philosophy, psychology, sociology, things that doesn't really make any money for you. I'm able to do that right now. I'm able to dedicate my time for that. I'm not bragging in terms of I'm rich. I'm not in any sense of it, except for the sense where it actually matters. Not in terms of money, but in terms of value. Now, why am I telling you all these things? Programming for life looks slightly different from real programming you would think. It doesn't. It is very basic, very, very basic. The concept we're going to discuss today are very down-to-earth concepts. We're not going to discuss any high, like new tech concepts that my friends are all talking about the past 2 days. Many of you here, I see that you are students or could be seasoned programmers. There's always questions we have in our lives. The questions where we worry about, am I going to make it? Am I going to get the job of my dreams? Am I going to make money? Am I going to get to, say, keep up with the technology changes? Am I going to be able to get new projects, keep getting money? These are all different specific problems we might have. But unless we have a proper planning, well, that's what SDLC is, right? Unless we have a proper planning and do a proper design, the program is going to corrupt. The program is not going to run as planned. So I'm going to talk about 3 very specific examples and scenarios that I've used directly from programming and how I've used it to change my life. I very clearly remember the first time I sat down to programming. Anyone remember IBM PC-AT? Yeah? Can you raise your hands if you've... Okay, there are only 4, 5, 6 people as old as me. Good. So IBM PC was just a wondrous machine. I had seen monitors like that in Star Wars and stuff before that. So it was just a starstruck kid sitting in front of the TV-looking thing. And my computer teacher said, well, we're going to learn today the language called BASIC. I was like, what is BASIC? I said, beginner's all-purpose symbolic instruction code. For some odd reason, the word all-purpose just kept ringing in my head. All-purpose? What else can I use it for? So I went back home that evening, and my mom was making me a sandwich, a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Americans would add us to. I don't know if it's a thing in Bulgaria also. So it was a very, very nice process. She just took a toast and a scoop of peanut butter, applied it over one side, and then another toast, applied jelly on the other side, and then she put it one on top of the other. Voila. That was a peanut butter jelly sandwich. The reason why it was amazing for me was, It was exactly the same that I had learned in the programming class that morning. There was a process. There was a clear process. You take a sandwich, you apply peanut butter, and you take another toast and apply jelly to it. So it's a very sequential process, one after the other. If you mess up the order, it's not going to work. If you take one of the steps away, it's not going to work. So in other words, every single activity you do in your life can be equated to programming. Or at least that's what I thought. So that point of view has helped me, years later, figure out things to detect patterns and how can I present things compared to with the benefits of what software engineering has given us over the evolution of periods. So I'm going to tell you 3 very specific scenarios where I have been able to use these principles to better my life. The first one being, the first one being all right, he's distracting me. Was that process perfect? Great. First point, yes, thank you. The first point being, if I was to take frameworks, how do we choose frameworks? Why do we use frameworks? Well, first of all, what is a framework? I mean, this is an interactive, so you guys can start saying, what is a framework? Come on, guys. Pardon me? A pattern, okay, all right. Reuse, okay. So a framework is nothing but a set of programs that you can reuse again and again, and it's a structure you have in place, so you're not lost when you're trying to program. Every single, say, for resource is garbage collection, or if you can think of memory management. All these processes are basic principles, basic stuff that you need to keep using in your programming. And the frameworks were created so that you don't have to keep doing them again and again. Turns out that in life there are frameworks like that you could emulate from successful people. Looking back, there are a few things that I have probably done in terms of how I had to change my life. So there was this book called 4-Hour Workweek. Anyone know Tim Ferriss of 4-Hour Workweek here? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, okay, 8. So 4-Hour Workweek was a cheesy title, I thought. I mean, 4 hours. I was working 100 hours a week. What 4 hours? What is he talking about? Does he even make any money? Is he homeless? I mean, homeless people work more than 4 hours in New York. I don't know what he's talking about. So, but my friend gifted it to me. It was a free book. I didn't have anything to lose, so I started looking at it. The book had very generic concepts, very similar principles that, okay, outsourcing, you have a lot of work, you send it to a cheaper country, and you get it done. We've been doing outsourcing for hundreds of years. It's not the first time outsourcing is it's not a new concept. But what piqued my interest in the entire book was there was a clear framework. There was a very specific framework as to how to handle the life in general. And let me just look it up. Okay, we ran past it. Okay. All right, so, good. So it turns out that the acronym of DEAL, define, eliminate, automate, and liberate. What does it even mean? So the 50% of all your problems are taken care of the minute you clearly define what the problem is. So anytime you have an issue, always take and define clearly what the problem is. Don't try to jump onto the solution. Just like how when your client is asking for some problem, you don't start coding. You ask what the problem is. You find what the terrain is. You ask the right questions, and you create a plan. Then use the right framework. I mean, that's what we do in development, right? we probably should do that in our lives too. So I took this thing and defined what my problem was from my previous really sad story, was that my life was out of balance. I had created this monster of a life just because I thought that's what I wanted. And at the end of, say, 20 years of hard work, well, 20 years, I'm talking from 5 years. I didn't really have 20 years. But after all this persistence towards one thing, I achieved dreams. And I realized that that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what my dream was. I can imagine if you guys have also had a dream and then worked towards it, and after you got it, you were like, well, is that it? Well, I don't think this is what I wanted. So the clear definition of any problem situation is required first. My problem was my life was in shambles. I was making money, but what is the point of money? If it can't buy you what you wanted, what's the point of money? I was sleeping under a desk, for God's sake. I was not able to have a homeless guy had a better life than I did. What's the point? So I wanted to structure my life around having all the things that I wanted. I took a list and said, okay, these are going to be my checklist of things that I want to do. It's going to be my bucket list. And I had clear writings of, okay, what are the things I want to do, and what I'm going to do in my daily life. My daily life is going to be dedicated an X amount of hours to my family. It's pathetic. It sounds pathetic, right? Like I need to spend at least 5 hours with my friends. Like, seriously? But that was the situation I was. And as I was trying to see how I can figure things out, it was very evident that the job needs to go. That job that I had worked really so hard for and given up my life, soul, and everything for. I was a Java developer there, an artificial intelligence programmer. We built algo trading algorithms, if you will, like black box trading algorithms. And this is what I wanted to do in its entirety, in terms of I liked what I was doing, but not in the way in which it was presented to. So I decided to have, okay, I'm not going to work more than 30 hours a week. 30 hours, like, that doesn't even make any sense, but that is what I wanted. And what am I willing to do for it? The next point was eliminate. Eliminate the things that you don't need. And for me, having a job that doesn't satisfy my needs was the biggest problem. And eliminate any problem, any obstacle that is standing between you and your dream. And as I was trying to eliminate my problems, I put out my CV to a few consultants who would bring me projects or whatever. So it worked okay. And it was really hard. It was really hard. I went and pulled the plug. I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. Everyone around me thought I was crazy. And even my little nephews and nieces were like, you have the dream job that we always wanted. Why are you doing this? Well, I'm doing this because I'm here and I don't want it. I've already achieved. I don't have anything to prove. I want my life back. After I got some projects and I was working on having my consulting gigs going, there was one big trouble that was at the back of my head. What if I don't get any projects? What if I don't make any money? So to put that at ease, there was one tiny little trick I somehow figured out. I took $10,000 from my savings, and I sent it to my grandmother, and I called her up and said, Grandma, here is $10,000. I'm doing something really crazy with my life. If I mess up big time, and I don't have money to feed, I will come straight to India, and you feed me for the rest of my life. It was ridiculous. And I always carry with me one-way flight ticket worth of US dollars currency with me. I have it right now in that bag. I kid you not. That puts my mind so much at ease. Because most of the time, we don't take the decisions we have to take because we're panicked. As long as your worst-case scenario is taken care of, you have nothing to lose. The next one was automate. So as I was starting to get the projects, I was overwhelmed. I had way too many more projects than I can handle. So I hired 2 or 3 people. And then I also hired an admin to manage those projects. Now, the projects are automatically run. I get to do whatever I want to do. I get to pick the projects that I like doing. I like to pick what I want to do, even in those projects, and do just that. Now, if you look back into Liberate, there was one problem still. I still was stuck with New York. I wanted to travel. I wanted to explore all these places. So it was 3 years ago, very clearly remember. I called up my client, and I said, I cannot be physically present every week, like we agreed upon. If that is going to be a hindrance for us doing business, I'm sorry, I will have to let you go. I fired my client. I fired my client because he was an obstacle at that point. And 3 years later, I live wherever I want to live. So this year alone, I've lived in Bali. I've lived in 2 months in Budapest, 2 months in Prague, 3 months in London, India for about a month and a half. So I get to travel wherever I got to travel, not because I'm forced to do something, but because I want to. And there is a very clear message for this. Rather than bragging, I want to, again, connect it back to what you can do with this model. Any problem you have, you can take this pattern and use it against to see how you can proceed along. So, seems like pretty fun, and seems like all the problems would have been gone. But that is just the beginning of what was to come. The second principle that I would like to say is, again, a very basic programming principle. There's 3 parts to every program. So there is a trigger, and there is a bunch of scripts that you write, code, and then there is a result, right? You could have a bunch of code, 1,000 lines of code, 50,000 lines of code, 1,000,000 lines of code, but that is the structure. There is a trigger, there is a code, and then there is a result, right? Turns out that in real-life habits that we have, it is probably the same structure, same pattern. So there was a book that came out called The Power of Habit. And this is exactly how a structure of habit looks like. Well, it's pretty simple. You have a trigger, you have a routine, you have a reward. For example, I wake up in the morning, and I take coffee. Waking up, the time is a trigger. Me drinking coffee is a cue, and the end result is better code. No, sorry, just a better energy hype. Turns out that there are a few specific ways in which the cue is okay. There are 4 different patterns of cues. Well, actually, 5. The 5th one is not visible here, I guess. Anyways, so the first one is location-based cue. Second one, time, emotional state, and another routine. The other one is people. The last one is people. Can't see that. So what does this mean? If you take a location-based cue, you go and sit on a couch, you want to turn on the TV. Wake up in the morning, coffee. Emotional states, if you're stressed out, you go for a smoke break. You have another routine. So brushing is a routine. Every morning you wake up and you do the brushing. That's your routine. And flossing is another routine that's tied to another routine. So it's basically a method invocation, if you will. right? So people is another part of it. If you go and hang out with your boys, you're having a Jack Daniel that night. It's a very specific trigger, a pattern of what you do, and an end. How could this be helpful? When we go back to, let me go back to the model, all right. So a cue is always happening at our time. Think of one habit that you want to get rid of. In your head right now, you can think about one habit that you want to get rid of. There is always very specific trigger points when this habit is kicked off. Maybe you have coffee, or you smoke, or anything that you want to get rid of, any addiction, if you will, right? So, any smokers in the room? Any chain smokers in the room? Any of them tried to quit at all?
Many times.
Good, good. I did that too. Same thing. Pardon me?
Quitting many times.
Quitting many times, yeah. Consistent quitter. So, I was having the same problem. So, it was FIFA 2006 around, and what non-American kids do in America is get together and do something international. So we were playing football. Well, we're supposed to call it soccer at that point, because we're in America. So we did, and the team was set up, and I was the striker. I don't know why they trusted me with being a striker, but my fellow striker passed the ball to me, and I was in the third quarter, and it was just been 15 minutes into the game, and he passed the ball to me. I'm running towards the goalpost, trying to get the ball in, and I see my energy just drop. My mind wants to go, my body just wouldn't go. I was just literally just bulking down, and I couldn't go. I was physically exhausted, and I was just collapsing. My chest was filled with tar, and I realized how much unhealthy I've become. That was a trigger point I'd like to say that I wanted to change. But that was not even the trigger point. What was more pathetic about that was, right after I collapsed, I was depressed, I took another cigarette, lit it up. I was like, this is not what I wanted with my life. I needed to change. How could I change? And thank God for this book. I was studying what are the cues that I have. What are my trigger points? Well, my boss at that time and I were good friends because we were smoking buddies. We were the only two ones in the entire building who smoked. So it was great for me. He was 5 levels up, and I could know how much of a moron my boss and his boss were because he was always complaining about them. I got a couple of promotions out of it. I got a pay hike out of it. It was great, but the problem was it was eating away my life. So, and I lived with three other chain smokers. So it was all people-based trigger. And if you look at it, the entire list of 5 that I have, at my home, I smoked. When I was walking through the place, I had to stop for a smoke. Time, whenever I had a smoking break, I had to smoke. Emotional state, whenever I was stressed out, I would smoke. I was 5 out of 5. No wonder I couldn't quit. So I had to do what the logical thing that says in the entire structure: remove your cues. The way in which you get rid of any habit is kill your cues, as in stop your program from being triggered, and make sure that the reward is taken care of by another program. What could be the, say, reward factor for smoking, do you think? Anyone? For smoking. Why would anyone want to smoke? I mean, why? Pardon me? To calm down, okay, to release stress. Perfect. So, turns out that is actually true. When you're breathing really deep, your stress gets released. You don't actually have to breathe it through the cigarette. The air is just free. You could actually do that. So something else I had to do was every morning, I made it a practice I have deep breathing exercises. And anytime I was stressed, I would go hang out with my buddies who were non-smokers. I asked my boss to move me to a different building so that I don't have to hang out with him. I didn't tell him that. I didn't want to hang out with him, but that's what happened. And I moved to a different apartment where I had roommates who were not smoking. I was trying to kill each and every cue. Finally, after trying 10 to 12 different times and failing, this time, for 2 weeks, it was difficult. But the third week on, I didn't even think about smoking. It's been 8 years now. I don't smoke. And I smoke when I want to smoke, and I stop it right at that. Because I know when I do a routine, the reward and cue will come right after it. So anytime you smoke a cigarette, then you know that the next time you're going to have the trigger. If you're aware of what is going to come, you can already predict and not do it anymore. So I've been smoke-free for about, 7, 8 years now. And think about the same, whatever habits you have, you can think about the same pattern and try to apply it to ease the situation for you guys. All right. The third one is going to be system security. What is system security? What is hacking? Define hacking. Unauthorized access, okay. For what? Exploration, okay. And? Exploitation. Exploitation of? Exploitation of resources. Exploitation of processes, right? Exploitation of the entire system. So basically, you own the system, right? Pardon me? Ego, yeah, well, yeah, of course, definitely. Now, turns out that this is exactly the same system a lot of apps are doing to us today. Any addictive product, be it software product or real product, a cigarette is an addictive loop. Drinking is an addictive loop. And all these apps that are being built, or the softwares currently, are built off of a specific model, built to make you addicted to them. That is the dictionary definition of hacking. In a sense, they want to hack into your system. If you were a system, they wanted to hack into your system, run their processes in your processor. Think about it. Let that sink for a little bit. There are 1.23 billion Facebook users in the world, and latest report, I think about 3 months ago, report was that about 68% of users log in every day. Well, Facebook is not even cool anymore, but there are people who are logging there. At least 67%, 68% of the people are logging in every day. And 50% of the people log in at least 6 times a week, multiple times. And we were talking earlier, Andrew. Andrew's my friend. And when I get onto my browser, and when it's blank, when the text box is blank, automatically you start typing Facebook. It has happened to me, right? There was a problem with this. You know what amount of pain I went through to gain my time? That time was being spent in Facebook. Well, naturally, my enemy now. So I had to take care of that. This is the hook model that I was talking about earlier. It is a very specific pattern in which people are going to utilize, or the apps are utilizing you. It could be any gaming apps, it could be Facebook, it could be Twitter, it could be Instagram. Anything that you might be not a user of Facebook, but you go through this specific model. The model is very simple. Does anyone see any eerie similarity between the previous model and this one? There is a trigger, there's an action, and there's a reward. Right? So how does this thing work? Let me quote this with an example. Your friend sends an external trigger, which is he adds you on Facebook, right? So you're like, what is Facebook? You just respond to it. You're taking a look at it. You accept, add, and then you're seeing, oh, he's got his pictures in there. And then he's got some comments in there. And then he's got all his friends in there. So you're looking at it, making an action. The variable reward is every time he logs in, he gets a variable reward. So if you, for those of you who are inclined, you can look up the mice experiment, where when the mice was pulling in the lever once, and one pellet dropped, or one pellet of sugar dropped, and twice, 2 pellets of sugar dropped. So there was a linear one. And there was another one that was totally random. It would just spurt out random pellets of sugar at random amounts of time. And the mouse just went crazy. They would just go up and down, up and down. And there's something with the variable reward that is deep in our heads that we want to go get it. And if you look at your Facebook feed, you would have different stories. Sometimes you have inspirational, motivational videos. Sometimes you have cat videos. Sometimes your friend just pissed off with his life and just moaning about stuff. It's variable reward. And then it comes the investment part. This is the crucial difference between normal habit and a habit someone is trying to get you into making. The minute you make an investment, as in you comment on it, or you say like, or you post another picture, now you invested into the system. The minute you're invested, you're hooked. And right you go back into your triggers, because your action right now is a trigger for someone else's addiction. Do you see the pattern? Instagram works the same way, WhatsApp works the same way. Every single app in Silicon Valley operates the same way. If they're successful, that is. If they're not successful, they have not used the same pattern. That's what it is. So those of you who want to build addictive apps, so I have a challenge for you guys. The challenge is, take out your phone and delete the Facebook app. I'm not kidding. I'm serious. I'm serious about this. What we are trying to do is cut off a trigger point. The Facebook app on your phone is the biggest trigger point for Facebook. The minute you cut off yourself from Facebook triggers, the process will be left, not this one. Oh, how do you delete it? You press on it, and the cross appears. Press on the cross right after that. And I can see that nobody's actually doing it. I could put some peer pressure on it, saying that you could show that you've deleted to your neighbor. Go ahead, do it. Your Facebook, that's good. Yeah, we talked about it. I know that you don't use it. Okay, great. That's great. That's great. See, if you're using, I'm not asking you to delete Facebook altogether. Just from your phone, to reduce 1 point of trigger, and see how much you miss it. You can ask Andrew. He doesn't. You've deleted Facebook app, right?
Yes.
Great. And how much do you miss it?
Not a single bit.
Great.
After a week of not using it and not logging in at all, they started sending me emails.
Those. One more draft, yeah. So, sorry? See? And also your background processes that are just hogging up your internet resources, right? See, Facebook is just an example. You might be addicted to Twitter, it's the same thing. Or Instagram, it's the same thing. I'm not even saying just these apps. Cigarette addiction is the same. Addiction of any pattern is the same patterns. And if you know how to get rid of them, how to manage them, it is very easy to get along. Now, okay. So it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom that your entire the model is there. The hook model is basically trying to get everyone in. How can I use this hook model to get good habits? Anyone ever tried to go to a gym and tried to go again and again, and tried again and again and again and again and again and failed? Never went. Never failed. I never tried. Never tried is better than, failing all the time. If you want to see the full capacity of how much a gym can hold, go on January 2nd. So it turns out that there is a model for that too. So BJ Fogg is a leading researcher in behavioral psychology. And most of the Silicon Valley apps that are addictive were built on top of his model. And this is the model that you could use to get rid of or get good habits into you. So I was terribly out of shape. And I have had the same problem of trying to go to the gym multiple times, always failed, always failed. What was happening on January 2nd was very clear. So let's look at this graph for a little bit, right? This is the motivation on your y-axis and ability on the right, on the x-axis. Anytime your effort doesn't reach the threshold of that blue line, you are not going to continue doing it. It's as simple as that. So if you are doing it just because you had high motivation and low ability, you will start January 2nd. And then your motivation drops. You fall into the dead zone. So you're not going. Same with low ability. If you look at it, my problem was that I would go to the gym and I would work out. But if I don't go, I don't work out. So the problem was not working out. Getting to the gym was more than half the battle. So what I did was the same model. I said, okay, I can have low ability here. All I had to do was, I would say, I will just go to the gym. Just going to the gym, it's a successful day. That's all. Just get to the gym, right? And after that, you can go home. It's okay. But nobody ever just went to the gym and went back, right? Well, I didn't either. So I started building habits. So the minute you start repeating multiple times a simple habit, it gains ingrained in you. And that is the creation of the script. You give multiple triggers to a low threshold item, and then it becomes a script. And when it becomes a script, and when you keep feeding the trigger points, you can persist a habit. I was able to cut my weight by about 30 pounds. I live healthier life than I ever did before. So 30 pounds, how much is 30 pounds in kilograms? 10. 16, yeah, sorry. That American moment. Finally, I'm American. So there are basic apps that you could use this model to get better. So one of the apps that I recommend is Coach.me. And I've challenged Andrew to start using Coach.me app. And how has it been working so far? Andrew? Did you do a workout today?
This morning?
Yeah?
No, I tried to sleep.
Okay, all right. But yesterday you did?
Every single day for the last 16 days.
All right, today is not over yet.
Nope.
Good.
I might even do them during my talk.
So it is just the habit formation that matters, not just the deadline by itself. You don't have to do everything. All you have to do is just start doing something every single day. Albert Einstein is credited with this quote of saying, when they asked, what is the strongest power in the universe, strongest force in the universe, he said, compound interest. Compound interest because little by little, a big rock can be corrupted by a small seed trying to get out of that seed. So the power of persistence and action every single day is much more useful than any high motivation by any motivation guru or any motivation video that you would see, and yes, I want to do something. This is the reason why you don't do anything after you listen to a motivation video. Yeah? Sorry for ruining that for you guys. It's not going to work. Any motivation video, not going to work. So this is my Coach.me framework, if you will. So I have a set of structures that I follow in Coach.me, and you don't have to follow these things. You could just go there and download your own frameworks. So they get you. It's pretty simple and straightforward. They make you work every single day a little bit, just a little bit. And that forms a good habit, and the good habit is all required for a drastic change. Yes?
Is it addictive?
It is very addictive, and that's good. So we're just using the addiction to our side, that's all. Yeah? So these are just three principles, three patterns that I've taken from what I've learned in programming and applied it to my real life. Very basic stuff, very but you don't have to be a programmer to even know this. But what about the others? You have a lot of other problems in your life or the other achievements that you want to make in your life. I've seen there are students, there are midlife programmers, there are achieved programmers, very expert programmers. All I can tell you is this. Programming is not a job. Programming is not what you do for a living, or it's not even what you do when you're just bored. Programming is a way of thinking. It's an attitude. It is how you look at a problem and you say, how can I create a structural solutions for this problem? You programmer is someone who looks at a chaotic world and he says, how can I traverse this? What structure will get me across this chaos? A programmer is someone who is an artist, who is creative enough to think from different parts and can create a solution by himself. All that is required is replicable patterns. If you have ability to look at what the structures are, you can create patterns. And you can create structures or use somebody else's structures that someone has already figured out. You don't have to invent something from ground up. All you do is take the patterns that is already working for someone else, or if it is a new problem, create a pattern for yourself. Makes life more interesting, right? Now, if you look at it, I have had multiple points when I had to sit down and think, okay, how is this framework going to work? First trigger point is ask the right questions. Questions are the answers. And with the right questions, because question is the starting point for every solution. Just like how I said definition of the problem is have the problem solved by itself. If you ask the right questions, they say the quality of your life depends on the quality of questions you ask. Anytime you look around and you see a problem, ask a quality question. How can I solve this? It is there ingrained in a programmer's mind to solve a problem. All you have to do is the right way to look at it. Now, my guru, so I've started studying Vedanta and Stoicism in India, so I'm able to spend about 6 months in every ashram to go and study whenever I want to study these things. So my guru Parthasarathi, he says that if you're looking outside for solutions, you're looking in the wrong direction. All solutions to all problems lies within. Look deep within, and that's where you find answers. I want to leave you with a really nice Tyler Durden quote. Anyone knows Tyler Durden? Good. They either love Tyler Durden or hate Tyler Durden. I happen to love him. This is your life, and it's ending 1 minute at a time. What will you do if you have a chance to change your life for the better? Thank you. I'm open for questions if anyone has any. Yes?
So you're fighting one addiction with another. What happens if you end up with two addictions?
Are they paired up together with each other? Because an addiction by itself is easy, but the more complicated an addiction gets, the more effort required to get over it. Yes? Did I answer your question? Okay. Anyone else? Yes? No, I don't. And that's why I'm able to travel all over the place. That was actually one of the conscious decisions I had to make, because these are the things that I had to do, and kids, I can't take them all over. But turns out that my friend who had done the same thing, He is married, has got a 4-year-old kid. They travel all over the world, and it works fine for them. I know people who have made it work, if that's what you're trying to ask. Yes? Any other questions? Yes? What if I work in a social media? That's a very good question. Are you addicted to social media, though? You are, okay. So a simple thing that I would say is separate work from personal. Have a separate login for work, and have very specific times that you will log in, and that past that time, you will log out. There are apps in which you can actually determine you can get into Facebook or not. I don't know if you guys know about those apps. For Facebook block. So there are like sites that would block. Pardon me?
You can block Facebook, YouTube, and all.
Do you know, can you say what the site is? The
Block is
Leech block. Okay. Leech block, apparently. So I don't know this because I don't have those addictions anymore. I don't care.
You have to try Rakia.
Rakia, that is a plug out for life, I guess. You can just plug out and play. Rakia will be tonight. I had to save my throat. I've been sick for the past 2 days, sorry. Any other questions? Yes?
Do you have addictions now?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Jim?
What do you do about it?
Addiction. Gym is actually not an addiction. Yeah. So, that's a very good point, actually. Thanks for bringing it up. You can't take care of all addictions at one time. When you're trying to do too much at a time, so Coach.me, when you go into the app, a lot of my friends whom I've introduced Coach.me to, they're like, oh, I want that one, I want that one, I want that one. So they got like 15 or 20. Don't try to do a lot. The idea is to take the biggest one. So anyone know about 80-20 principle? Yes? Okay. So can you explain what 80-20 is? Just try to, I mean, it's okay if it's not the person.
Percent of the usability of a software is created by 20% of the code.
Is there?
And the rest 80 is just, it would be nice to do this feature and this feature and this
Is that a microphone?
feature and so on.
Is she audible to everyone? Okay, all right, please. Okay. Oh, you finished? Oh, okay, all right. Anyone else want to say it? Come on, guys, I need volunteers.
We have somebody you know who's living without any addictions.
Pardon me?
You know somebody who's living without any addictions.
Addictions are nothing but programs that are running in your system. Do you want a system that no programs are running? That's not the point of a system, right? It is a script. An addiction is just a malware, right? It can be a malware. So can someone be without any addictions? Probably there could be. But that's something difficult. So when I was trying to say with your point was, with 80-20 principle, take that problem that gives 80% of your trouble. So there's one other practice that I have. It's called the garbage collection practice. Human beings don't come with pre-built garbage collection. So what we do is, so garbage collection in Java terms. So what I do is every 2 weeks, I have a reminder in my calendar in which I go back and say, what are the 80% of 20% of your problems, 20% of the things that you did created the biggest problems for you? Who are the 20% of the people who have been so negative and bringing you down or challenging disturbing your peace of mind? If you monitor them consistently and then get rid of the processes, people, situations, anything that you can, or processes, anything you can think of, that is the only way to get rid of addictions faster or get rid of, bad situations faster. Did I answer your question? Great. Anyone else? Anybody else? Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Do you have people working for you at the moment?
Yes, I do.
Do you coach them the same team?
Yes, I do. All of my employees are remote employees.
What happens if all of your employees want to work 4 hours a week?
That is possible if they're able to. See, the ultimate aim is to not squeeze hours out of my employees. If they're able to finish the same amount of output within 4 hours, why do they want them? I actually don't want to see them. I don't want to see them. Let them go have their fun. I'm not a slave master. I do not get pleasure by seeing someone toil. I actually want them to, I help them to see, okay, if some problem can be solved faster, I would just tell them, hey, you can solve it faster this way. Go to the beach. Right? Pardon me? Please, yeah.
How often do your employees quit after your coaching?
I don't coach, actually. I don't coach my employees. How often do they quit? Well, that's pretty addictive. I've put the addiction model into my system. No, I'm kidding about that. But no, they are free to come, free to go. Yeah. Any other questions?
Do you have any job openings?
Yeah, I always do. I'm always looking for great people. Because that's one other reward of being able to have freedom, right? Freedom is not just being able to move around. It's being able to work with the people that you want to work with, be in places that you want to be in, and go enjoy the things that you want to enjoy. You want to be around good people. So when I hired, the biggest criteria is, do I enjoy working with them? Do they know something that I don't know? I always look for people who don't know, who have things that I don't know. So either they can take care of it or they can teach me. So I'm always looking for experts rather than people whom I can get extract labor from. It's just a slightly different way of looking at it, right? Any other questions? Yes.
Do you think that replacing an addiction with another addiction is a good idea?
So do you think replacing a malware with another malware is a good idea? I mean, okay.
Let's say you want to quit smoking.
Okay.
You want to go to the gym instead.
Okay.
Is it good?
Is going to gym an addiction or a habit?
Let's say it's an addiction.
If it's an addiction, then you shouldn't be doing it. See, the addiction and habit are both the same thing, right? A habit is nothing but a positive addiction. Yes? Right? So ideally what you want is something that you can self-govern. So that's one of the really nice thing of, I'm pretty sure there's no other Indian in the entire room. In India, the word in Hindi for freedom is Swaraj. Swaraj is not quitting your job, or Swaraj is not going and traveling around. Swaraj is not anarchy or liberty from some authoritarian ruler. And Swaraj means self-governance. Swa means self, Raj means governance. Self-governance, meaning I govern myself. I make my goals and I fulfill them. That is freedom. Freedom is not being able to go around just jumping around and doing things that are going crazy over it. Freedom is self-governance. Freedom comes with a lot of responsibility. Freedom comes with a lot of ways in which you can control yourself. The ones who cannot control yourself shouldn't be free. So to answer your question, if you're able to have a futuristic goal, and you're able to persist to yourself to that goal, and you're able to create patterns and structures that helps you navigate through the murky waters to get you to the goal, that's all you want to know, right? Did I answer your question? All right, thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Oh, I'll meet you guys after off the stage if you need me. Yeah, thank you.